that job really was the launching point for me into realizing that hard work and dedication and really passion for what you're doing is going to transcend most of the jobs that you're going to do well at.
Hey there, ALSD. Jared Frankie here with a very special guest here at ALSD 2018 in Atlanta. We are very proud to announce for the very first time to our membership our new president of the board of directors, Michele Kajiwara. Michele?
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sure president of the board is a badass enough title.
I think it's pretty badass. I mean, president is pretty remarkable, so I'm really honored. Thanks for calling it out.
For any of our members who don't know you, which I'm not sure how that's possible, but there may be a few out there who haven't seen the Queen walking around the hallways of ALSD the last decade or so. Can you just give us a background of your work experience, and maybe some personal tidbits about yourself, just a general path to how you got to this point today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I have sort of a non-traditional path than most because I never came up thinking, oh, I got to work in sports. I just knew I wanted to be in a really dynamic work environment. I needed a lot of energy. And so sports was kind of a natural fit, although I don't think I realized it. When I was in school, I graduated from USC as a communication major. It served me very well because in so many ways that negotiating, the communication, public speaking, all of those things have come to my rescue now. And so I guess in hindsight, that was a great general communications major to go through. So graduating there, the natural thing in Los Angeles was to start working in entertainment. And so I worked for a producer who was doing small budget films, and I was working ridiculous hours. There was never overtime. There was never, I think I made $20,000, if that's even believable, but it was ridiculous.
In Southern California?
In Southern California.
Can you buy a camping tent for that?
You can't do anything. I don't even know what I did on that money. I was there all the time though, so it didn't let me spend any of the money I was actually making. So I think I made $20,000. I worked 15-hour days. I was on call constantly. I don't even remember having cell phones outside of these huge bricks that lived in cars.
Like a Zach Morris thing?
Yeah, we were doing readings, we were doing screenings, whatever it was, whatever she needed in her life. And that job really was the launching point for me into realizing that hard work and dedication and really passion for what you're doing is going to transcend most of the jobs that you're going to do well at. And it's kind of been a theme throughout everything else that I've done in my career, because now everything sort of pales in comparison to that job, those hours. That was kind of my foray into working in entertainment. And then I moved to New York. I convinced a girlfriend of mine to move out to New York. We didn't have a connect out there, so to speak, no job, no apartment. And back in those days, there was really no internet. So we were looking for apartments through newspapers and magazines and just word on the street.
Newspapers?
Yeah.
Those existed? Was this like
back in the
dinosaurs
day.
roaming the air?
Yeah, I'm dating myself now, but we eventually, found a place after a month of searching and sleeping at the YMCA on park benches. We crashed at a waiter's place one time. We were out of options and we gave ourselves a month, but we finally found a place to live. I got a job at Chelsea Piers. I started working there in PR and then transitioned into sales, which was the greatest step, I think, in my career to understanding what I think I'm truly good at. And so I started working in sales as a catering manager for 2 event properties on the piers, and we're booking weddings and bar mitzvahs and trade shows and premieres and launches and all these things. And at the time, there was a lot of money sort of surging through the city. There was a .com boom at that time, and Wall Street was doing really well. So lots of money, a lot of great earnings and opportunity. And I think that really kind of shifted my attention to, wow, I have something that I can control with this sales gig, and the money and the opportunity to be a real integral part of a business in sales was something that attracted me very much to furthering my career in that. So after 4 years of being there and 9/11 happening, that was kind of my let's come back to LA, double down in California, and eventually started working at Staples Center, which all I recognized about that opportunity was great facility, great energy. The company in and of itself, I think, was dynamic and progressive enough to be something that was really attractive and that I could get behind. And I took a pay cut, I took a title cut, and I just got in.
Was it more than 20K?
It was more than 20K.
Okay.
So I guess I was kind of moving up a little, but then
so you moved up to the studio apartment.
But after, that I was never in.
Yeah.
So after that 20K job, and then New York, which was really good to me in sales, came back to LA and then started a job as a service account manager. And so I got to know all of our clients in the building, which I still work with now, and they still call me, which is really nice. And I feel like we really established rapport, so always an open door there. But started as an account manager, moved into sales as soon as there was an opportunity, and I think that really taught me just to get in. If you can recognize that a company or an industry is really dynamic, just get in. You can navigate so much better once you're inside than on the outside. And so that one sales position opened up, and the rest is history. I kind of I accelerated in my sales, I got into management, and I moved to the Home Depot Center for 1 year, took over the premium there, which was really great because it was all of the premium assets, sales, service, and ticketing. And they were really nimble. We got David Beckham, and then when I started, David Beckham decided to go play for his club team, so that was rough, but lots of really great lessons there, and then came back to Staples Center, and it's kind of been no looking back ever since. But a really fun ride, and so much of that company and the landscape physically has changed, and I've been able to stay in a market that's home, stay in a market that is very fluid and has just a lot of opportunity for growth, and so I've never really considered leaving. I feel like I'm in a really good spot.
So Michele, I believe if we can backtrack just a touch, I believe I heard you say small budget films.
Yeah.
Are you able to expand upon that? Tell us maybe an example of one of those?
Yeah, so by small budget, she had a project that I won't name, but it ended up being a $30 million picture. So that's by no means a small budget. She was the daughter of the owner of the company, and so her budget wasn't traditionally what anybody else would consider small. And she was really young at the time, as we all were, and we just did everything that she needed in her personal and professional life. So I'm right out of college, and I'm helping her buy a car, a house. I'm staying with her on the weekends when her boyfriend is in Cannes and she needed company. We're going to Bed Bath & Beyond and putting bed sheets on, and organizing her house and cleaning cabinets and walking her dog and taking him to the vet and throwing birthday parties for her stepdaughter to be. We were doing everything. I sent her, she needed her taxes done, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I sent her to H&R Block, and we were just laughing because it's like they've never seen anybody walk in with a portfolio that this person had, and they were probably like, what are you doing here, lady? You need like a whole cadre of like people helping with your financial planning. But it was just whatever it took, and so you never knew what the day was going to produce. But again, I go back to every step that I took in my career at the time felt right, and so much of what you do when you're young is just operating on instincts. You don't know what you're doing. You're just going with your gut and hoping that it lends itself to a good career decision. And I look back on all of that, and I also think, so that was great experience, taught me a lot about how deep I could dig. And when you think about finding another gear, it's jobs like that help set you up for, I can really do anything, and I can find and get the resources that I need, right? And so super valuable.
It taught you that there's no challenge too big for Michele Kajiwara.
Absolutely, but then that's a great thing to have coming out of college. Yeah, and then launching into
confidence issues and feeling your oats and finding your place in the world. And
absolutely,
sounds like you did it.
Yeah. And then kind of finding that through just putting your hand up and asking for other opportunities once you're in a company that's a very safe environment to explore your reach, and learning that sales was something that I would forever be passionate about. Like, that is just, once once I started doing it, I knew that was going to be something that would follow me throughout my entire career, and that was a really important lesson that I learned in New York. And I also, in between kind of all of my jobs and things that I've been able to do, and even in my job currently, I make sure that I take time off for travel. And between New York and coming to LA, there was probably a year where I just strapped a backpack on and went by myself to Southeast Asia for one circuit, and then I went to South America on another circuit. And there was never one moment when I thought taking time off of and losing momentum professionally was going to hurt me. Of course, you know, my parents were a little bit concerned about what are you doing and why now? You've got some great momentum. Why aren't you keeping it going? But it just felt right at the time, and I think those lessons as well, looking back, have also given me just exponential resources in not just being able to figure things out domestically, but internationally. And because of our company's international sort of footprint, it's a really great skill set to recognize that you can be dropped off anywhere in the world and figure out how to survive and thrive and sort of get the best out of whatever that culture is. And even in dealing with different cultures in Los Angeles, that appreciation for and that respect level of, yeah, I've been to your country, I understand, gives you a little bit of a better seat at the table, so to speak, because we do have so many dynamic people that we work with, and that respect level, I think, is something that translates really well to what I'm doing today.